Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to my, I don't really call it a webinar because it's not like the conventional webinar with slides and stuff. I'm kind of trying to shake things up and do it differently. So welcome to my, I'll call it my event. um, the one thing that matters most about new business. And I guess it's an intriguing question. And I'm going to tell you a couple of stories to illustrate this, but I'll start by just saying my idea here is to give you like a quick sound bite. I'm not going to go into a long, drawn out amount of detail here, but I just wanted to make this like pretty short so that you could come on, get something that you can have some takeaway value and start to work with it. So I'm going to talk for about 10 or 15 minutes, then we'll open it up for discussion, and then I'll talk a little bit more. We'll have a little bit more discussion, and with something inspirational, so we can mix it up and get some interesting conversations, hear what people have to say, because I think it's really important to hear what other people are going through in the industry and hear what other people have to say. So if you have questions and you want to type them into the chat box as we go, I'll answer them all together at one time. Or you could just ask your question live when I unmute it. But I'll tell you a little bit about me and how I got here. I started as a graphic designer. I went to Parsons in New York and graduated here in Toronto at Ontario College of Art and Design. I interned with April Greiman in Los Angeles, and that's where I learned the Mac computer back in the day when Mac just started happening. And then I ended up working in Toronto at a firm called Gottschalk and Ash International. After working for a couple of years, I decided I knew everything. I was I don't know how old. I was like probably about 27 or something. All 27-year-olds know everything, right? So I decided I knew everything and went out on my own, started my own graphic design firm. And it actually went okay for a while. It was me and a partner, another girl. And then what happened was we lasted about 4 years. And till I had my first child. And I was kind of left holding the bag with the studio and expenses and a small baby, and I wasn't sure what to do. So I was talking to a friend, Heather, who was in the business, and she said, you'd be a big asset to another firm. Why don't you go out and talk to some firms? You can help bring in business, you can creative direct, you can do all these things. So I thought that was a good idea. And I met with a whole bunch of firms, and I landed with this charming French guy named Michel, who owned a firm called Ove Design here in Toronto. He asked me if I could do creative direction and business development for him. And I said, sure. I was, the ripe age of, I guess I was probably about 29 by this point, or 30. And so I said, sure, I can do that. I had no clue what he meant by business development. I just thought I'd figure it out. So he gave me his mailing list of 800 names, and I just started calling people. And this was back in the 90s. Like, people answered the phone then. Like, you could call or you could leave a voicemail message. Sometimes they'd call you back, but people answered their phones in their offices. They used their office phones back then. So I got him a lot of business, actually, and so much so that he had to tell me to stop looking for business because there was almost too much business, that, the growth was too much to handle. So that was back in the 90s, and things were a lot different. I had no business experience and was just making things up as I went. So now it's like many years later, and I figured out quite a few things. And I've been on the client side as well. And I've seen what goes on for clients in a business, and I get what the problem is. So the one thing that many creative professionals, especially graphic designers, don't get is there's a business problem to solve. And you may say, that's not, that's a no-brainer, I get it. But I'm going to try and explain it to you in a different way that you may not have heard it before. I'm going to tell you a story about a friend of mine who's a dentist. His name's Jerry, and he's been in practice for over 30 years. When he started out as a dentist, he was very anxious to make a sale and get new patients. And people would come for a consult, and he'd list off a million services that he'd list off all the things they did and why and what their credentials were and why they were such great dentists, and talk about how great they were and try and make the sale, get the patient. He didn't have a lot of patients. It wasn't working. And then one day, a guy came into his office with one tooth. The guy literally had no teeth, like he had one tooth. So Jerry was completely stumped. He had no idea what to say. He had no idea what to offer this guy with one tooth. At that moment, he's like, well, I'm not going to start listing off all my services, and who cares? He's got one tooth. So at that moment, he realized he had been going about it all wrong. He just said to the guy, so tell me what's going on with your mouth. And then the guy went into this whole story about how, it was so hard to eat. He couldn't really eat anything, and all his food had to be pureed, and, it was so hard, and his life had become so hard. And at that moment, Jerry understood like what that person was going through and what he was experiencing. And so after that, he changed every conversation with a potential patient to so tell me what's going on with you, so that he could really understand. And it completely changed his business. He's got one of the most successful dental practices in Toronto now. But he understood the problem. And then he said to them, okay, so based on what you're telling me, there's a couple of options for you. So he understood really clearly the problem, and then he started to offer possible solutions. He didn't come and start saying, okay, I get what your problem is, and here's what it's like to have one tooth, and blah, blah, blah. He listened. He spent a lot of time listening. So how this applies to you guys. You get a potential client and you get all excited to show your portfolio and share your list of services, all your credentials. But having been a client myself, that stuff's all good, but it's not the thing that matters the most. I've been on the receiving end of many credentials presentations, and it's been like kind of boring for me. Like, it's nice to look at the work. I look at the people's website. I see that they do good work. That's all. I know all that before I'm even talking to them. So the thing is, I want to know that they get what my problem is. I want them to ask me the right questions. And I want to have the confidence that they can help me solve my business problem. So the thing that matters most is, can you help me solve my business problem? And I worked with a firm a number of years ago that had created one of the most successful beverage brands in history. And the owner of the firm the owner of the client had an idea about what he wanted to create. And then the owner of my firm had another idea about what he wanted to create. And it went to market research and so on. And it turned out the owner of my firm was right. He had it was a great idea of this beverage. But the story was, the client's goal was to sell 100,000 cases the first year. And what happened was that they sold 100,000 cases the first month. Like, it was a runaway success. And in packaged goods, it's easy to measure results. But I want you to start thinking this way, because if you can start to cultivate things in a different way and be able to tell these kinds of stories, then it completely changes your relationship with clients. You become a strategic partner. They call on you for your advice. You're not this that they could easily go to Fiverr and get it for $5. You have this knowledge and experience, and you want to start getting that across, that you can really help them solve a problem. Just like Jerry, the dentist, asking, so what's going on with your mouth? So you want to ask these people, so whether you're in a pitch situation or you already have the client and you're starting out, you want to ask a lot of probing questions. You want to ask, say a client comes to you and says, I need a new website. Our website's not good. It's ugly. And so you don't just go into like, oh, okay, here's all the websites we've done. You start to go into, okay, what's not working about your current site? And then ask questions. And it depends on the kind of business they're in. Is it the fact that it's not leading customers to call you? Is it the fact that sales are low? Is it the fact that you don't have foot traffic to your store? What's really the problem here? And I know a lot of you do this already, but do it more. Like really try to get into their headspace. What's going on with them? What's the challenge in their job? Get to the root of the problem. A lot of times they don't even know the root of the problem. Like they just say, we just need this brochure. I was told we need this. But it's like, why do you need it? What's it going to do? And, often what they think is the problem isn't actually what the problem is. It's not what it appears to be. And you can say that, like you can step forward and say, you know what, based on what you're telling me, I don't think that's the problem. I think it might be something else. Really start to become more of a strategic partner. I use the term think like a client a lot. So start thinking like a client, and it will really differentiate you. And then, start to show measurable outcomes. Start to ask clients at the outset, what would success look like? Is there something we could measure here in the end to see how well it worked? And then and don't be afraid. Like you want to make it work. Like you want to solve the problem for people. A lot of people are afraid to ask, what would success look like in case they can't get them the success. But if you really want to have loyal clients, get them a win, then they're not going to go to anybody else. They're not going to go to Fiverr if they've got you and they're getting wins and they're getting more traffic to their site. They're getting more people in their store. Like they're getting measurable results. They're not going to go anywhere else. They're going to stick with you. Saying things like, we helped grow the mailing list from 100 people to 2,000 in a year because we came out with a really compelling opt-in and it resonated so well with prospects they couldn't pass it up. So don't speak in creative language anymore, like we made it blue to show the calm. Speak in business language. Ask them about their numbers. Ask them about their sales. They may not tell you. Find out, just ask if they're financially healthy, if they're a profitable company. These are things that you really want to know. So you need to change your thinking and you need to change the conversation. When I was a marketing director at a company, I had some designers doing work for me, and they were really talented designers, like outstanding in terms of visuals and creative, but they wanted to spend money on things that weren't going to get me a business result. We had like a food store with an eating counter, and they wanted to spend $3,500 on putting a hand-painted mural under the eating counter, but we had no customers coming in. Like we needed other ideas. We need to think of things much more strategically. You know, I wanted them to be spending my money as if it were their money. Like, start thinking about how are you spending their money? Pretend it's your money. Like, would I really spend money on this? And if the answer is no, don't sell it to them. So really, and don't be afraid to challenge them. If you're looking for this result, I think there's a better way to do it. So spend your client's money as if it were your own money. And then find out what results they had. Follow up. Follow up later on. I mean, these are things that we talk about in my different groups in the Mastermind and Business Accelerator. We tell people, follow up. Don't be afraid. Like, there's different ways to do it, but find out 6 months later what happened and how it went. And that's things that we're not really trained to do as designers. Like, we just do the project, leave, and like look for the next one. But if we can change this around, we could start to have more long-lasting relationships. So the one thing that matters most about new business is to show you can solve the problem. And if you start thinking this way now, you'll start to accumulate stories to tell over time. And getting business will be much easier when you have these stories. And as I said before, I know creative professionals who have made their clients incredibly successful, and their clients won't make a move without them. Like, they have to be in on every single meeting, planning and strategy, and you know, they won't do anything without speaking to those clients. So that's what you ultimately want. So some important questions to ask are, where are you now and where do you want to be? And I said this one before, what will success look like? And then you're pushing them a little bit to think through what they're really trying to achieve. So remember, it's so easy when you think of the story of the dentist, the way he asked, what's going on with your mouth? That's all you have to ask is, what's going on with your business? And let them talk. So I'm going to open up the line again for questions and discussions, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about ways to accelerate your business. So if you want to keep yourselves on mute, and you can unmute if you want to ask a question, because then we won't get all the background noise. I usually open as a potential strategic partner, but often it scares them off. They lapse into, I just want to ... So, I mean, you don't have to say that, I'm a strategic partner. You could just open with these kind of, so tell me what's going on with your business. I think it might be a little less intimidating, like just saying that, as opposed to, I'm a strategic partner. Great thought to ask questions about how to solve their problems. I think it's important to engage them this way, but let's face it, I'm a visual person, not a words person, even though I'm articulate. I mean, it's a conversation, and that's all it is. It's like asking a friend, so how are you? Like, and we all know how to do that. So you don't have to be so intimidated about it. Just ask the question. So tell me what's going on here. And they just say, well, we just need this brochure. Okay, well, tell me about it. What are you trying to solve with this? Like, what do you want it to accomplish? Like, it's just a conversation, but it gets you into a different place and it shows that you're really interested and really care about their business, as opposed to, okay, you know, I'll just take this information. How many do you want? And get it done. Other questions? Oh, Charles, I meant the point of view of a strategic partner. Do you want to maybe unmute yourself and tell me more about what you're thinking here?
Well, I'm used to being a strategist in large agencies. So my MO is always to start with big picture, the big picture. And sometimes clients find that intimidating. It's like, I don't want you to get so deep into it. I just want you to give me some content for this email or whatever. It's like, it's almost like you can come on too strong, maybe.
Right. But maybe it's just like, so what do you want to accomplish here?
Right.
And then, and then if they say, well, I want some content, well, what are you trying to accomplish? Because I want to help you accomplish that.
Right.
Maybe it's just changing the way you ask the questions to be a little less.
So
and they may kind of weave into talking more big picture stuff. Well,
it's interesting because I don't know what other people's experience is, but I think a lot of clients come at you with kind of a narrow focus, like this is why I'm having this meeting. I need a DM, I need a, and so the vision is so tunnel that when you start to back up, they may think it's like you're kind of probing and, trying to insinuate yourself in places that maybe they don't feel comfortable.
But there's you can always say things like, I want to really help you accomplish something here. So in order to do that, I just want to ask a couple questions.
Right. No.
Keep it casual. As opposed
tone it down. Okay.
Yeah. Like maybe just tone it down, but you can still ask those same questions, but more like, okay, so it's what's going on? So you want this content. Okay. What are you trying to accomplish here?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Strategic partnership is earned, developed. Bring it in while you were showing work. Bring it in while you were showing work or your presentation of your work to them. Display integrated nature of your approach. Sorry, that's Jean. Do you want to just kind of expand on that?
Yeah, I think you can scare them off, if you come in, whether you use these words or not, but I'm here to be a strategic partner. And to Charles's point also, you can intimidate them a bit, but I think you're going to do your job the way you want it to be done. So if they come in and tell you they need a DM piece, that's because they don't want you drifting all over the place. It's more or less to your benefit, their focus, not necessarily tunnel vision. So the point is, while you're showing samples, don't just go, look, we did this and it's blue and we use these shapes. It's more a matter of saying we understood what was going on with the company and we understood that we needed to, the design is actually the result of a strategic approach. It's not whimsical or, wow, isn't this cool, And so again, when you're showing your samples, it's not just about the graphics involved, but you can weave that strategic story into it as well as results so that they understand that there's a reasoning and a process that goes behind what you're putting in front of them. It's not just cool stuff.
Thank you. Given clients don't have time, getting the first meeting is tough. Any thoughts on getting a conversation started? Okay, that's a whole other topic. And actually, I'm going to talk in a few minutes about the Business Accelerator group, because that's something that we talk a lot about in that group. Often a business owner is interested in hearing what we can do for them and ask for a proposal with a budget. What are good questions to make sure it's worth putting the time? Also, we talk about that a lot in the Business Accelerator. I have a thing called the 5 questions that you need to ask before you even think about meeting a client. So I'll talk more about that in a couple of minutes. I've been designing professionally for over 25 years. Yikes. I've always worked for someone in the past. Now I'm on my own. So how do you really sell? Again, you'll have to get your hands on these 5 questions and start working with that. But again, it's all about asking the right questions. I'm surprised that so many are talking about showing portfolio. I haven't shown mine in many years. everyone goes to the website to do the work. Yes. And again, I've only related to seeing portfolio pieces when it's something directly related to like my problem. You just can't, it's hard to relate to seeing portfolio. You know, you're always going to go to the website to see who they are and what they do. So I'm getting it now, Rhonda. You are the friendly business therapist. Ask questions, draw them out, don't intimidate them. But to me, it's more about finding new business. Thoughts? Yeah, lots of thoughts on finding new business. But again, whole other topic. After you get the meeting and understand the problem, my experience is know the audience is really important. Yes, very important is the audience. And that's something that I talk a lot about in my groups as well. Spent a lot of time trying to educate my clients, as most designers do. I would just like to know where to stop trying to convince them and leave the ball in their court. By asking the right questions, they're going to see, it's going to get them thinking. It's going to get them thinking in a different way. Like, you may ask stuff that they hadn't even thought about. So it's all about asking these right questions. And I'm just going to talk for a few more minutes, and then we'll open it up and see if there are any more questions. Being a creative entrepreneur isn't easy. You run a business, you want to stay creatively fulfilled at the same time. It can be pretty challenging. And many of you work on your own out of a home office and can feel isolated. And then there's a whole cash flow thing. And then there's where to find clients, how to find clients, as you're all asking about business development. The up and down of it all, trying to find steady revenue while staying positive, and it's a lot to handle. I've been teaching courses for creative professionals since 2010. And what happened at the end of the first course was people didn't want it to end. It was called the Business Development Breakthrough, and people wanted to keep going. So I came up with the idea of doing regular meetings every 2 weeks, like a mastermind, and they really liked that. And it's evolved to be called the Business Accelerator now. So you can keep chipping away at it on your own, or you can become a Business Accelerator member, and it's just for creative professionals. And my goal here is to help you create a business that really works for you. And that means being financially successful, being happy, being creatively fulfilled at the same time. We talk a lot about business development. So a lot of the questions you're asking here are bigger topics that I need to talk about for an hour. So I'm trying to really stick to the point for today, but we talk a lot about business development. We talk a lot about marketing. We talk a lot about what are other possibilities, like how to evolve in the industry because it's changed so much, especially for designers. We talk about revenue streams. We talk about how to work differently in today's economy, and what else is possible that you may not have considered. And we also talk about ways to feel more positive and be part of a community. Like, you get to be part of a community like this and see what's going on for other people and learn from other people. So if you want to check it out, you just have to go to landthebusiness.com/invite. And I'll just go through the main and share my screen. Here's just kind of the main what's involved. In the Kickstart is more for there's less personal. It depends on the level of involvement you want with me. The Kickstart, it's if you want to get more organized, do weekly planning and learn do a lot of online courses and learn about getting new business. There's just tons of material and content. and then you get access to me on a monthly Q&A call. In the build, it's for people who really are in a build mode and want to be part of a small mastermind group led by me. So the every 2-week meeting, and it's a small group of like 10 to 12 people, and we have different topics every time. We'll work on your business like in these calls. So like we'll work on your LinkedIn profile and get it done. So it's kind of working on your business, like taking that time to work on your business. So then you have that focused, specific time every 2 weeks. And you'll get to know people in the group, and some people have complementing services and refer each other and give advice. So it's really great. And then the LEAP is for people who are looking for fast clarity, accountability, with a one-on-one coaching session with me every month. And this is where you'll get some real momentum. We'll create a strategic plan for you, then put the action steps in motion to make sure you really get things done. So private coaching is limited. I have like limited space and limited hours in my day. So I need to talk to you first if you're interested in that and make sure it's the right fit for you. So these are the different levels, and you can cancel anytime. And again, the page for the whole spiel is landthebusiness.com/invite. And so the Business Accelerator isn't just about making money. It's about being happy and successful in your life and being creatively fulfilled. And every member gets access to Every member gets access to the online platform where I keep everything. And it starts with 10 tips on being successful, happy, and creatively fulfilled. And then there's all sorts of courses and learning and stuff under these topics of business development, inspiration, client relationships, and marketing. And then I list all the upcoming things that are happening. I've spent 15 years doing personal growth work as well, and I share all that with the group so that you can really get into a better headspace and make things happen for yourself. And again, it makes sure that you have dedicated time working on your business. I've also got a special bonus thing happening right now that if you register by May 16th, I'm going to give you a course called Closing the Business with Ease, Cut Your Proposal Time in Half. And it explains what meetings to go to, what meetings not to go to, how to handle a first meeting, how to do proposals in a different way, and that increases your chances of getting the work. And you'll get templates, scope documents, proposals, like sample proposal, budget calculator, and a workbook and audio that explains everything. And that's a $500 value that you can get for free if you join before the 16th. And the members are graphic designers, creative directors, strategists, market researchers, small ad agencies, social media strategists, copywriters, had an app developer a little while ago, just all different people. And it's a really great supportive community. You can learn lots from others in the group. The next 4 mastermind topics are May 17th, speed content creation, May 31st, how to do stakeholder interviews, and June 14th, strategic planning for the 3rd quarter, June 28th, what's stopping you from making more money. So that's it about that. I'm going to open it up and you can ask more questions. And then I've got something inspirational that I want to share. But see, I've got a lot more questions coming in. And I'm going to let you unmute yourself if you want to speak. I find it relatively easy to get prospects to engage in my services once I get in the door. The challenge for me is finding qualified leads since I've either worked for large firms where someone else did that, I've served a support role in business development as a creative lead, or I've had a business fall into my lap with my own business. What is the best way to get the right people in the right companies? That's Tim Smith. Do you want to get on and speak about that, Tim? I don't see you.
Sorry about that. Sorry, it took me a while to get unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, basically with my work history and the work I've done for global companies, when I get in the door and I'm able to show the work, and I do a lot of what you're talking about, I do open the discussion talking about, trying to ascertain what their needs are and lay down sort of very significant, relevant sort of discussions with them that really right away resonate with them, and they're very engaged and very interested in working with me. The challenge for me is I've always had somebody else doing this for me, being able to do the cold calls, the sales leads, and I've been in roles in firms where I've been responsible for that, and I haven't succeeded in that role because it's not one of them in the past. Oddly enough, I've gone through sales training before, and I passed with flying colors over top of some people who are doing nothing but sales, but I still struggle with the idea of actually tracking down qualified leads and knowing what to do with those once I get them, unless I can just get in the door.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of what I talk about is getting on the radar, doing, and instead of chasing after work, positioning yourself and starting to get known by an audience. So, and that's a lot of what I talk about, what we work on in the accelerator group as well, is just really how to choose an audience and how to position yourself. Because in today, and the next question on here was, what's your take on cold calling? I don't think in my experience, cold calling doesn't work anymore, because it's just so hard. Like, first of all, a lot of people don't even use their business phones anymore. They use their cell phones, and you can't get the number. And I live in like a condo, and, window washers call me all the time and ask me if I want my windows washed, but it's like not even relevant to me because the condo takes care of it. So, just calling up someone and presuming that they need your services when you don't know anything about them, it's very tough going. So my answer to your question, Tim, I guess, is more choosing an audience, positioning yourself, and getting known, and we talk about this a lot in the group, is really getting the message right. And that's why I talk about stakeholder interviews so much, because it's like finding out what message is going to really resonate with the audience you're talking to. And that can make all the difference in the world. Oh, thanks. Like the window washer analogy. Yeah, because it's like, what are you doing calling me? And I think that's probably what it's like for people that are the receivers of cold calls. Like, what are you doing calling me? You don't know me. You don't know, you don't know anything about me. So it's sort of, when I get those kind of calls, it feels sort of really intrusive and like a bit of an assault. So, I know in a lot of industries, they still do a lot of cold calling, but I don't think for the creative businesses, I don't think that's the way to go. Questions, anybody? Anybody want to jump in? From Rose, when I was more out and about in my younger years, I was meeting more people and getting more connected. Now, post kids, I have a great stash of clients, but in terms of building new business, I don't know where to go. Cocktail parties, Chamber of Commerce, game, not game. I meant, gag me. It depends on your personality and what you're like. Some people do really well at networking events. I mean, if you're in a position to become a thought leader or a speaker, that's the best. That's like when I go out and speak, I get business. Again, about positioning yourself. Don't go running around to events where your audience isn't. Be particular, find an audience. That's another big discussion topic about audience, because a lot of people don't want to have a niche. They don't want to have a specific audience, but then you're competing against all these people that are selling all things to all people, and you don't stand out. So choosing an audience is really super helpful. I have one client that they mostly work with boutique hotels. So they went out and found out what messages resonate with boutique hotels. And now they use that in their marketing, and it works for them. They get calls from boutique hotels saying, we want to work with you. We heard about you, or we saw your stuff. I'm a terrible public speaker. I'm great in a small group, though. I'm charismatic and talented, but how do I reach a new small group? Again, it's about the audience, like deciding who the audience is and where they are. I mean, you can always start some sort of meetup group if you like small groups, and you got to kind of work with what's going on out there in the world. People are doing things in all different ways. Just my own take, but the local Chamber of Commerce events are not a good fit for me. All of our clients are associations and nonprofits, and those people don't belong or attend to local. Yeah, so you got to go where your audience is. That's why it helps so much to know your audience. Any other questions? Or any questions about the program, or you can send me an email and connect with me if you want to learn more about that.
I just have a question about the packages you were talking about before.
Yeah.
So is there like a time commitment on that? Because I know you have a monthly pricing. So is it like you sign up for a year, or is it just
no, you sign up, and if it's not working for you, you can cancel anytime.
Okay. And then that resource you mentioned that was like valued at $500, would that be given?
Yeah, right now I've got this special bonus on till the 16th, which is because the next mastermind call is the 17th. So I've got the special bonus on till the 16th, and yeah, that's super helpful, the material in that. But yeah, I mean, I would give yourself some time. Like if you're going to do this, like really give yourself time, give yourself 4 to 6 months to make changes. But there's if you get in and don't think it's working for you, I don't want to hold anybody hostage here. It's got to be working for you. Like I want it to work for you. So, and the bonus is available at all levels. The URL is, I'm going to type it in here. landthebusiness.com/invite. Oops. I meant to do that for everybody. Hang on, let me do that.
And then the bonus would be available at any level, essentially?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think did I send that? I want to send to everyone here. There it is. I'm still not clear about how to find clients. Trolling Craigslist ain't my thing. Sorry to be hammering on this again, but what's a simple way to meet new clients and get in the door? Figure out your audience, and then figure out where they are, how to position yourself. And I've got some inspiration that I want to wind up with. Are there any other questions? Okay.
Actually, I have a question about breaking into a new category. So if we have a reputation for working with a certain type of client and trying to expand, do you have any advice on how to sort of expand into, like, say you have a target audience, but you're trying to change it and expand it? How do you break into that or help change your reputation if you're not known for doing particular services?
I mean, it's why do you want to do that?
Because I think there's what we've been doing is a bit too narrow, and it's not sustaining the business. And so we've had to expand our offering, and we're just not known for working in categories outside of what we're known for.
Mm-hmm. So I guess, do you know the audience that you want to work with? Like, does the work you've been doing translate to another audience easily?
To some degree, but certain organizations are just structured a little bit differently. And like our agency is known for working with specifically in the cultural field, particularly fine arts organizations, visual arts and performing arts. And we're looking to expand more into community-oriented education, and not specifically to just museums, but people are identifying with different forms of culture, and the definition is expanding, and we're trying to just broaden our client base to just not be with museums.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just having a hard time making that transition.
So it's kind of, you want to expand, it's kind of like expanding your positioning.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, you might want to go out and do some stakeholder interviews, find out what's going on with your audience, and then how you can tailor your message.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome. I just attended an associate industry trade show where my audience is. Well, that's good. So you know where they are. Am I still active as a graphic artist? No, I dabble a little bit, but I'm not up on all the computer programs. I do some creative directing once in a while, but not really. How do you conduct a stakeholder interview meeting? That's actually I think I said that in the upcoming mastermind calls.
Me too as well, thank you.
May 31st, how to do stakeholder interviews, because that's a really valuable skill and a really valuable thing to do. So, yeah, not something I can explain in a minute or so. It makes sense that cold calls are not a thing anymore, but what about cold emails? Yeah, cold emails, it's a bit tough too. I was like maybe around 2010, that kind of worked, but not like with the filters and everything. I don't find that works so much anymore either. I have other ways to do it that I talk about in some of these programs. I sometimes use Twitter to reach out to people. But yeah, cold emails doesn't really work too well anymore either. I mean, sometimes you can figure out the company's email convention and figure out someone's email address, but even still, if they don't know who it's from, often it goes unanswered. Any other questions? In the mastermind or coaching, do you discuss and recommend CRM app systems? Some of the suggestions you're making seem to be very marketing related. Well, we talk a lot about business development and marketing. People share a lot about what's working for them, what systems they're using. For CRM, I know there's a few out there for small businesses, for creative service type businesses. And also as part of this, Function Fox is a time management and time tracking software. So it's not CRM, but it's more time management. And they offer our groups a special discount. There's like a 3-month, it's a 3-month actually trial offer for members, which is also like a $500 value. What is crime? CRM? Oh, what is CRM? Customer Relationship Management. And I can't think of, there's one on the top of my head that some of my clients have talked about, but I can't think of it. But that's the kind of stuff. We also have a private Facebook group where you can go on and ask people those kind of questions, what they're using. Oh, someone else said HubSpot has a great one. Circling back again with my question based on the title of the workshop. Can you please share again, the one thing that matters most about getting business is understanding the problem and solving it. We use an app called Hatchback. It's HubSpot Lite. Do we really need CRM? That made me glaze over. So yeah, I mean, I use Google Sheets to track my business development stuff. So, you know, some people like a fancier system. I like to keep things simple. So I'm going to end off now with something that is really, really important in all this. And my question is, you know, you tell yourself a lot about the things that aren't working for you, about what you don't want and about what's not working. But do you ever ask yourself, what is it that I do want? And focus there. You know, shifting yourself into a new story, because it really matters where you're thinking in your mind. If you're constantly thinking about things you don't want, it kind of grows the things you don't want. And, you know, I've experienced that. And when you start to focus on the things that you really do want, and then that sort of expands as well. So trying to stay in a more positive mindset, and we talk a lot about that sort of thing as well. But what you focus on expands. So start to pay attention to what you're focusing on. And when I started doing this, I put a rubber band around my wrist, and I would kind of like nudge it when I was like going down the wrong path. Because it's so easy to let that chattering mind just go off. And, you know, it never usually goes anywhere helpful. So here's what I'm focused on. I'm focused on people all over the world that I'm meeting through this program. I'm meeting such amazing people. And I'm focused on people like Katie Osborne, who's in Brooklyn, New York, and she grew her business by 500% in a year after joining my program. And I'm focused on sharing different ways of thinking and new possibilities for people, building a global community, friendships, collaboration, helping people be successful doing what they love to do. And I've got a big, exciting vision for this. And as a creative professional, you know, you need to evolve, and I'd love to help you do it. So all the information is on landthebusiness.com/invite. And again, the special offer of Closing Business with Ease is available to those who register by May 16th. And our next mastermind is the 17th at 12 noon Eastern. And that's everything I've got. Does anyone have any final questions or want to share anything?
Sorry, one more question.
Yeah.
What's the Facebook group called where you can like share and chat? Is that like a private thing?
It's a private group for members. Members
okay.
Only.
Okay, good to know.
Okay. So thank you all so much for being here. It was great seeing you all, and hope to see some of you next week in my mastermind call.
Thank you.
You're welcome.